Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures, where humanity always rises. The night sky was calm above Earth, but inside NASA's main control room, tension filled the air. Screens flickered with strange readings from the lunar observation satellite. Dr. Alan Avery leaned closer to the monitor, his eyes fixed on the data that had just appeared. It wasn't noise. It wasn't random. It was something repeating. Slow, deep and powerful, a low-frequency signal pulsing every 11 minutes, like a heartbeat coming from under the moon's surface. "Run that again," he said quietly. The young technician beside him replayed the audio. A steady thump echoed through the speakers. It was faint but clear. Dr. Avery frowned. The moon had always been silent. No magnetic field, no atmosphere, no sound. Yet now it was speaking. He quickly ordered the data to be cross-checked through multiple satellites. Every reading came back the same. The signal was real. The source lay deep beneath the southern lunar crust, near an ancient crater that had been inactive for billions of years. Could it be seismic? One scientist asked. "No," Dr. Avery said. "The frequency is too organized. It's like a code." As the night went on, the signal grew stronger. NASA's main servers were flooded with information. Engineers tried to decode it, breaking it into patterns and symbols. At first, it seemed random, but then something strange happened. The signal formed a rhythm, almost like a voice trying to speak. Dr. Avery stayed up for 30 hours straight. He couldn't stop thinking about it. It wasn't natural. It wasn't geological. It felt intentional. He sent an emergency message to the Global Science Council, requesting immediate analysis. But the reply he received was short and cold. "Continue monitoring. No public release authorized." They didn't want panic. They didn't want another space scare headline. But Dr. Avery couldn't rest. Every scientist in that room felt it, the unease, the quiet fear that something old and powerful was waking up. Days passed. The signal didn't stop. It was growing clearer, louder, as if something beneath the moon was trying to reach out. Late one night, a junior engineer, Mia Torres, noticed something unusual in the waveform. She zoomed in, adjusting the spectrum. "Dr. Avery," she whispered, "look at this." The sound pattern wasn't random. It was symmetrical, too perfect to be nature's work. They ran it through an ancient language recognition program, used once for deep space messages. The result froze everyone. The signal wasn't just a pulse. It was a transmission. The system began converting the frequency into visible code. On the big screen, lines of symbols formed slowly, one by one. It looked almost like human writing, but older, more complex. Then, for the first time, the signal changed tone. It shifted higher, vibrating through the walls like a metallic hum. The lights in the control room flickered. Computers glitched. Monitors rebooted. A strange sound came from the speakers, like a whisper beneath static. Everyone stood still. "Did it just—" One technician began but stopped. The whisper grew louder, then stopped suddenly. The monitors turned black for a few seconds before one line of text appeared on every screen. Just one word. "Awakening." The room went silent. No one spoke. No one moved. The air felt heavy, electric, as if something unseen was watching them. Dr. Avery's heart pounded. He ordered a full system check, thinking maybe it was a malfunction, maybe a cyber attack. But all data sources confirmed the same thing. The message had come directly from the moon. Within hours, the story spread quietly among a few scientists. Some thought it was an ancient satellite activating. Others whispered about alien technology buried under the surface. But Dr. Avery felt something different. It wasn't alien. It was familiar. The signal's code carried a strange pattern, one that resembled human DNA sequences. When they compared it, the similarity was undeniable. "It can't be," Mia said. "Are you saying it's connected to us?" Dr. Avery didn't answer. He just stared at the screen. The heartbeat signal began again, louder now, pulsing faster. The entire control center could feel the vibration deep in their chests. It was as if the moon itself had come alive. Outside, telescopes across the world started detecting faint flashes of light coming from the same crater. Blue light. NASA sent out a rover command to investigate, But before the signal reached the lunar surface, communication was lost. The rover went dark. Every attempt to contact it failed. Dr. Avery knew this was no random event. Something beneath the moon had woken up, and it was aware of them. He turned to his team. Record everything. Don't delete a single file. But even as they saved the data, one by one, files started disappearing on their own. The servers were being wiped clean remotely. Someone, or something, didn't want this evidence to exist. Shut down the network, Dr. Avery shouted, but it was too late. The message appeared again on all screens, written in glowing blue letters this time. We see you. The power went out. Darkness filled the room. Only the backup lights glowed red. Dr. Avery's hands shook as he looked out the window at the pale moon hanging in the sky. For the first time in human history, it didn't look peaceful. It looked alive. The heartbeat continued, echoing through every monitor, every speaker, every data feed across the world. It was no longer just a signal. It was a warning, and Earth had no idea what was coming next. The following morning, NASA's headquarters was in chaos. The mysterious signal from beneath the moon had gone viral within the scientific community, despite strict orders to keep it secret. Dr. Alan Avery stood in the middle of the control center, exhausted but alert. He had been awake for 2 days, watching the signal grow stronger. Every time the system stabilized, the pattern shifted, as if it was learning. The word awakening still glowed faintly on several backup monitors. No one could erase it completely. Dr. Avery had sent urgent warnings to the Global Science Council and the United Nations Space Division, begging them to take immediate action, but their responses were slow, full of politics and fear of public panic. We can't make this public, one council member had said through a secure call. Imagine the chaos. Keep monitoring quietly. Avery clenched his fists. Humanity's first contact, or maybe its last, was being ignored because of politics. As hours passed, the strange lunar signal began transmitting something new. It was no longer just a heartbeat. It had changed into a pattern that resembled coordinates, precise and repeated. The location pointed deep under the moon's surface, near a shadowed crater called Tycho Gamma, an area untouched since the Apollo missions. NASA prepared to send a new probe, coded as L-29, but something unexpected happened. Before they even launched it, an unknown object appeared in lunar orbit. It wasn't registered to any space agency. No nation claimed it. It had no transponder, no signal, and no reflection signature. It was as if a piece of darkness had taken form. The object began orbiting the moon slowly, matching the rotation perfectly. It moved with eerie precision. Who launched that? Avery asked. The room stayed silent. No one had an answer. Every major government denied involvement. Yet, the object behaved like it knew exactly where to go. Above the same crater from which the signal was coming. NASA's telescopes zoomed in. The shape looked metallic, smooth, and flawless, like a black mirror gliding in space. When they tried to scan it with radar, the signal bounced back distorted, twisted, almost alive. For the next few hours, the unknown satellite just hovered there, motionless. Then, suddenly, the moon's surface temperature began to rise slightly, something impossible under normal conditions. It was as if energy was being released from below. The control room fell silent as the readings climbed higher every minute. It's heating from the inside, Mia whispered. The moon doesn't do that. Avery nodded grimly. Something down there is waking up. He ordered live visual feed from the lunar probes still active nearby. Cameras turned toward Tycho Gamma. At first, nothing. Just gray dust and rock. Then, a thin line appeared across the ground, glowing faintly blue, stretching for kilometers. The line pulsed, once, twice, then split open like a crack in glass. Oh my God, Mia whispered. Dust and debris floated upward slowly, not falling back like normal under the moon's gravity. The crack widened, revealing what looked like metallic structures buried deep under the surface. Not rock, not ice, metal. The same moment, the unknown object in orbit adjusted position, as if responding to the event. It emitted a short flash toward the crater, like sending an activation command. The glowing crack expanded rapidly, forming a massive circular outline, perfectly symmetrical, almost like a door. Every monitor in NASA showed the readings spiking off a scale. "We need to shut this down," one official shouted. "It's dangerous." "Shut it down," Avery snapped. "We didn't start it. Whatever this is, it's controlling itself." Suddenly, all live feeds went dark. Every probe camera turned off at once. Data transmission failed. It was as if something on the moon had just cut off all human eyes. Avery immediately switched to backup channels, but even they were jammed by an unknown source. A single transmission replaced them all. A faint voice, distorted but human-like. "You were told not to disturb the silence." The room froze. No one breathed. The voice continued. "The lock weakens. The cycle begins again." Then static returned. The signal vanished completely. Avery felt cold sweat on his forehead. He tried replaying the voice, but it was gone, wiped from every system as though it had never existed. Who could do that? Mia asked, shaking. Avery didn't answer. He didn't want to say what he was thinking. This wasn't human technology. The moon had never been just a lifeless rock. It was hiding something vast and ancient, and now it knew they were watching. Later that night, while the control center ran diagnostics, Avery reviewed the old Apollo archives, searching for anything similar. To his shock, he found a classified document from 1973. It mentioned unexplained magnetic readings from the same crater, Tycho Gamma, and an order from High Command to seal all information under Omega level. The note ended with a single line: "Do not wake what sleeps beneath." Dr. Avery stared at the screen for a long moment. The warning had been there all along. NASA had known something strange existed under the moon for decades. But no one had listened. No one had believed. Now the signal was back, and it was stronger than ever. Around midnight, a faint tremor shook Earth's satellite sensors. Something beneath the moon was moving, massive and slow, like gears grinding after endless ages. Avery's computer blinked again. One last message appeared on the main monitor, glowing faint blue. Phase 2 initiated. And then, from the far side of the moon, a faint light appeared, steady and unnatural. For the first time in human history, something under the moon was awake, and it was watching Earth. The moon hung silent in the night sky, but inside NASA's command center, every alarm screamed. Dr. Alan Avery stood motionless as he watched the data flood across the monitors. Something enormous beneath the lunar surface had started to move. Seismic readings showed shifting patterns, like machinery turning after being buried for eons. "That's not tectonic activity," Avery said quietly. "It's too regular." The sound engineer replayed the vibrations, and everyone in the room could hear it now. A deep mechanical hum rising from beneath the moon's crust. It wasn't random. It had rhythm, intention, almost like the slow breathing of a sleeping giant. The signal NASA had been tracking changed once again, its pulse now matching the new vibration. The pattern formed a structure when mapped visually, revealing a massive circular design buried miles under Tycho Gamma crater. This looks like a man-made construct," Mia whispered, but Avery shook his head slowly. "Not man-made. It's older than any record we have." The scientists ran simulations to determine the size, and the results left them speechless. The object spanned nearly 60 kilometers in diameter, larger than most cities on Earth. The readings showed it was made of a material unknown to human science, stronger than any metal ever discovered. Then, out of nowhere, the object emitted light. Blue veins of energy pulsed through the lunar surface, lighting up the crater like a glowing ring. Across the world, telescopes captured the sight, and the footage spread instantly through the internet. The world was watching now. People demanded answers, but governments stayed silent. They didn't have any. The energy pulse reached a peak, and NASA's sensors picked up a strange digital transmission hidden inside it. It wasn't random data. It was a message compressed in ancient code. Dr. Avery and his team worked nonstop for 12 hours to decode it. Finally, the computer translated the signal into plain text. The message was simple but terrifying. It said, "We were here before you." The room went silent. No one knew what to say. The message came from beneath the moon's surface, from something that had been sleeping there long before humanity's first step on the lunar soil. Avery leaned back, whispering to himself, This changes everything. Over the next day, the transmission continued to evolve, sending more fragments of information. The strange thing was, it wasn't in an alien language. It was using human binary systems, as if whoever sent it understood humanity's technology. How can that be? Mia asked. It's like it's been listening to us for years. Avery nodded slowly. Maybe it has. He had a theory, one that terrified him. What if the moon wasn't just a natural satellite? What if it was something built, something designed to observe and protect? He remembered the old classified files he had read earlier, the ones warning not to disturb the silence. It made sense now. Someone had known. Someone in the past had discovered this secret, but buried it to keep the world safe. That night, NASA received a new kind of signal. This time, it wasn't a code or a vibration. It was a voice. Faint, metallic, and ancient, but clearly speaking in perfect English. "You have awakened the Guardian," it said. The scientists froze. The voice continued, calm and emotionless. "We watched your kind grow. We watched your wars, your rise, your decay. The lock was placed for your protection." Avery stepped forward, his heart racing. "Who are you?" he asked aloud, though the transmission couldn't hear him. The voice answered anyway, as if reading his thoughts. "We are the first ones. You are our children." Mia gasped. "It knows what we're saying." The computers glowed brighter, data streaming faster than they could record. The voice spoke again. "The cycle is broken. The hunters will return. Prepare yourselves." Then the signal cut out. Silence filled the room, heavy and cold. No one moved. Avery's mind raced. The message sounded like a warning, a prophecy, and a confession all at once. If it was true, humanity wasn't the first intelligent species from Earth. They were descendants of something far older, a forgotten civilization that had once reached the stars. Over the next hours, governments across the planet held emergency meetings. Public communication was restricted. Satellite images of the glowing lunar surface were blocked. But it was too late. Amateur astronomers had already spread the evidence online. The truth was out, and no one could hide it anymore. Meanwhile, strange electromagnetic interference began to affect Earth's power grids. Every 11 minutes, the same timing as the original signal, power fluctuations hit the entire planet. It was as if the moon itself was syncing with Earth. Avery worked desperately to re-establish contact with the entity. He needed answers. He finally managed to send a digital ping toward the crater using a private frequency. Minutes later, the signal responded, but this time, it wasn't just sound. The data formed an image on the screen. A glowing circle with 8 symbols around it, like a seal or a lock. At the center was a single word written in English. Lock. Mia pointed at it. "It's saying something is sealed down there." Avery nodded slowly. "Or someone." The moon trembled again. Instruments showed a massive energy surge beneath the surface. A secondary structure was activating below the first one, even larger. "It's waking up something else," Avery said. Then, a second voice came through the speakers, deeper and darker than the first. "The Guardian fails. The lock must open." Before Avery could react, all lights went out in the control room. Monitors glowed faint blue. A new message appeared across the screens. "They are coming." For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the machines. Dr. Avery looked up at the moon through the observation window. Its once calm, silver surface now pulsed with blue veins of light. Humanity had ignored NASA's first warning. Now something ancient beneath the moon had truly awakened, and it wasn't alone. Dr. Alan Avery sat in the dim light of NASA's control room, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. The voice that had echoed through their systems still haunted him. "We are the first ones. The lock was placed for your protection." The entire scientific world was in panic, though governments tried to keep the truth hidden. Something ancient had awakened beneath the moon, and its words suggested a deeper, darker truth about humanity's origins. Every nation demanded access to NASA's data, but the servers were heavily encrypted now by someone or something that wasn't human. Even NASA's own systems showed encrypted codes no one could understand. Dr. Avery knew the signal was changing again. It was transmitting data in bursts, mathematical patterns mixed with DNA sequences. When he cross-referenced it with human DNA, the results made his hands tremble. The sequences matched. It was impossible, yet the proof was there. Humanity shared a genetic signature with the entity under the moon. Mia, he said quietly, what if we didn't evolve here? What if Earth was never our starting point? She stared at him, confused. You mean we came from them? Avery nodded. Maybe we were sent to Earth, a long time ago, to survive something. The theory sounded insane, but everything about the last few days was beyond logic. Meanwhile, the Guardian, the voice that had first spoken, was silent now. Instead, a new signal had begun to transmit from the same crater. This one was colder, sharper, and didn't sound human at all. Its message came through in fragmented bursts. The hunters. Return. Defense. Broken. The words repeated in random order until the systems crashed again. Mia looked terrified. Hunters? Who are they talking about? Avery's face turned pale. If the Guardian was protecting something, then maybe the hunters are the reason it was buried. He turned to the big screen, showing the moon's surface. The blue glow had faded, replaced by strange dark cracks that seemed to pulse with red light now, as if something beneath was shifting, spreading, preparing. He knew what it meant. The Guardian wasn't alone down there. Something else had been trapped with it. By morning, reports came from other space agencies. Their satellites were being jammed. Radio telescopes across the world detected faint whispers matching the same frequency as the moon signal. But this time, it wasn't just coming from the moon. It was coming from deep space, multiple sources, closing in fast. The hunters were real, and they were on their way. The Global Council called an emergency session. They ordered all transmissions from NASA to be sealed under military control. They wanted to suppress the truth, but Avery knew it wouldn't matter. The entire planet would soon see what was coming. During a private meeting, a high-ranking general told Avery, "We've decided to silence this, Doctor. You'll stop all communication with the moon immediately." Avery shook his head. "You can't stop this. It's not just a signal, it's a warning. If we cut contact, we'll be blind when they arrive." The general leaned forward, his voice low. "Then maybe being blind is safer than knowing what's coming." The meeting ended in silence. Back at the control room, Avery and his team decided to keep monitoring in secret. They rerouted the satellite systems through an old backup network that wasn't listed in official databases. When the feed returned, it showed something astonishing. The circular structure beneath Tycho Gamma had expanded, forming a colossal chamber. Inside it, massive mechanical forms began to move. Ancient machines made of glowing metal. The Guardian had awakened fully. Then, without warning, an image appeared on their main monitor. It was a humanoid figure made of light, standing within the glowing chamber. Its face was smooth, featureless, but its presence felt immense. A voice filled the room, calm yet commanding. "You have broken the seal before the appointed time." Avery spoke softly. "Who are you?" The figure tilted its head. "We are the Guardian, keepers of your kind. Long ago, we locked away what hunted you. The hunters feed on creation itself. They erased your stars. We hid you on a world they could not see." Mia whispered, "So humanity was hidden on Earth?" The figure's eyes flickered like lightning. "Yes, you are our last hope. The moon was placed as the lock. The hunters were sealed beneath it. But now the lock decays. They can smell your light again." The room went silent. The truth was worse than anyone had imagined. The moon wasn't just a natural satellite, it was a prison, a shield to hide Earth from a cosmic predator. And now, after countless ages, that prison was failing. The Guardian turned its gaze directly toward the camera. "You must prepare. The lock will fall." The image vanished. Systems overloaded. Every monitor went black. Outside, the moon pulsed once more with a faint red glow that could be seen even from Earth with the naked eye. People across the world saw it and began to panic. The media called it the blood moon phenomenon. No one knew it was a warning. Avery tried to contact the council again, but all communication lines were dead. It was as if someone had shut the world off from space. He turned to Mia. They're hiding the truth because they're afraid. But fear won't save us. He brought up the decoded fragments from earlier transmissions. Buried in the data was something remarkable, a set of star maps and schematics. They depicted an enormous structure buried under the moon's surface, shaped like a colossal ship. The Guardian wasn't just protecting Earth, Avery said slowly. It was guarding something powerful. Mia's eyes widened. A weapon. Avery nodded. Or maybe a key. Outside, thunder rolled across the night sky, though there were no storms. The air itself seemed heavier. And then, for the first time in history, every telescope on Earth recorded a faint shadow moving behind the moon, something enormous blocking the stars for a few seconds. Whatever the hunters were, they had entered the solar system. Humanity's greatest secret was no longer hidden. The lock was breaking, and the universe was watching. The world was no longer calm. People everywhere were staring at the moon, which now pulsed with an eerie red light that waxed and faded like a heartbeat. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. News networks struggled to explain it away as a lunar magnetic disturbance. But those inside NASA knew the truth. Something beneath the moon had fully awakened. Dr. Alan Avery hadn't left the command center in 3 days. His face was pale, eyes sunken, but his focus was sharp. Every hour the moon's pulse grew stronger, and every pulse sent strange waves through Earth's atmosphere. Communications failed across continents. Satellites blinked out one by one. It wasn't random interference, it was deliberate. The Guardian had said the lock was breaking, and Avery could now see the cracks forming on the moon's surface in the latest images. They weren't natural fissures, they were geometric, perfect circles stretching miles wide, glowing with faint blue energy. The shape looked like a massive door opening from within. Mia stared at the display, whispering, "It's not a structure, it's a ship." Her words hung in the air, and the room fell silent. The data confirmed her fear. The structure buried under Tycho Gamma was lifting. Tremors rippled through the moon's crust as if the planet's core itself was moving. The moon wasn't just awakening, it was alive. Hours later, the Guardian's voice returned, echoing through every open channel. The lock is undone. The soul arc rises. The scientists exchange glances. Soul arc, Avery repeated. The Guardian's tone remained calm but heavy. The arc of the first ones. Humanity's legacy. Your ancestors built it to survive the war that consumed the stars. We hid it beneath the lock. Now it must awaken again. Before anyone could react, the entire moon began to shake. Massive shock waves rippled outward, and dust clouds rose into space. The images from the satellites showed something unbelievable. A circular section of the moon's surface split apart, rising slowly as beams of blue light shot into space. Underneath was an enormous metallic structure the size of a continent, glowing with symbols and lights that no one could understand. The soul arc was real, and it was awakening. "My God," Mia whispered. "That's not a ship. That's a fortress." The Guardian's voice echoed again. "The hunters have entered your system. Prepare for their arrival." Dr. Avery's hands trembled as he switched through different feeds. One by one, distant space telescopes picked up unknown objects entering the solar system. They were moving faster than any known spacecraft, dark and silent, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. "Those must be the hunters," he said quietly. "They found us." For the first time in history, humanity stood on the edge of cosmic war. Within hours, world leaders across the globe activated joint defense networks. The Global Space Council declared an emergency alliance between all major powers. The soul arc was now their only hope. But no one knew how to control it. Avery realized the Guardian might be their only guide. He sent a coded signal through the last functioning satellite aimed at the moon. To his shock, the soul arc responded instantly. A beam of light shot from the crater straight toward Earth, carrying an encrypted data stream. When NASA systems decrypted it, a single message appeared. Command authorization. Human origin confirmed. Dr. Alan Avery, designated key holder. Mia gasped. "It chose you." The screens lit up with schematics of the soul arc's interior. It was massive, hundreds of kilometers across, equipped with weapon systems and propulsion drives far beyond human technology. But most systems were still dormant. Avery stared at the glowing map, realizing what it meant. "The Ark needs a human to activate it," he whispered. "It was built for us." He began uploading the activation codes the Guardian had transmitted. Lights flickered across the control center, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then, a tremor rippled across the moon's surface. The Soul Ark's engines roared to life. Energy flared from beneath the lunar crust, forming brilliant patterns across its surface. The moon's glow shifted from red to bright white as enormous panels unfolded like wings. The moon wasn't just a satellite anymore. It had transformed into a colossal warship. People across Earth looked up in shock as the familiar lunar face changed before their eyes. The craters began to shine, the surface pulsing with radiant blue veins. From orbit, it looked like a giant eye-opening. The Guardian spoke again, its voice booming across every device still functioning on Earth. "The Soul Ark stands ready. The hunters are near." Then, for the first time, the world saw them. Through powerful telescopes and orbital cameras, 3 colossal dark vessels emerged from the void beyond Mars. They were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, massive, angular, and alive. Their surfaces shifted like flowing shadows, absorbing starlight completely. "Those are not ships," Mia whispered. "They're creatures." The hunters began their descent toward the inner solar system, their path locked on the moon. The Guardian transmitted its final message before vanishing from all networks. "They destroyed our creators. They will not stop until all light is gone. But this time, you are not defenseless." The Soul Ark's weapons activated. Gigantic energy towers rose from the lunar surface, each one glowing brighter than the sun for a brief moment. Earth's night sky turned to day as the first wave of blue plasma erupted from the moon, striking one of the approaching hunter vessels. The explosion lit up space like a second dawn. Humanity watched in awe and terror as history unfolded above them. Avery could only stare, his heart pounding. "We're not just from Earth," he said softly. "We were never meant to stay there. We were meant to fight." The war for the moon had begun, and the truth of humanity's forgotten origin was no longer a mystery. It was destiny. The sky above Earth shimmered as the light from the moon grew brighter, filling the night with a pale, cold glow that felt almost alive. People across the planet stood in streets, on rooftops, and at windows, watching in silence. The moon, the same silent companion humanity had known for millennia, was no longer the same. It had changed. Vast metallic structures pulsed across its surface like veins of light. The Soul Ark, the ancient human warship, had fully awakened. In NASA's control room, Dr. Alan Avery stared at the streams of data pouring in. The readings were beyond anything science could explain. Energy levels from the moon exceeded the output of the sun in localized bursts. "It's responding to us," Mia said, her voice trembling. "It knows we're watching." Avery nodded slowly, his thoughts racing. "No," he whispered. "It's responding to them." He looked at the main screen showing 3 dark hunter vessels approaching the moon's orbit. They were huge, each the size of a small continent, moving silently, absorbing all radar and light. They didn't look like machines or life forms. They were something in between, creatures of metal and shadow. One of them released a beam of darkness that struck the Soul Ark's energy field. The entire moon shook, sending ripples across its surface. "Shields holding at 60%, Mia reported, reading the incoming telemetry. Avery clenched his fists. "It's not enough. We're not fully online yet." He knew they needed to find a way to unlock the Soul Ark's full systems before it was destroyed. The Guardian's voice suddenly returned, echoing through the speakers. "The Ark recognizes you, Dr. Alan Avery. You are of the bloodline, the last descendant of the Builders." Avery froze. "Bloodline? You mean?" The Guardian continued, its tone cold but steady. "The Builders encoded their essence into the human genome. You carry the command key. The Ark will obey your command." Mia turned to him, her face pale. "You're connected to it. You're part of whatever they were." Avery felt his heart pound as he approached the terminal. "If this ship needs me to work, then we don't have a choice." He entered the sequence the Guardian had transmitted earlier. Instantly, the room filled with a low hum. The Soul Ark responded. Across the moon's surface, massive panels opened, revealing enormous cannons buried deep beneath the dust. Light flared from the edges, cutting through the black of space. The Soul Ark spoke for the first time, its voice deep and mechanical. Command recognized. Human interface restored. Avery stood frozen, realizing he was hearing the ship itself. Activate defense protocol, he ordered quietly. The ship responded immediately. Beams of light shot across space, striking one of the hunter vessels. The creature-like ship twisted, emitting a horrific sound that was neither mechanical nor organic. The blast tore through its outer shell, but it didn't die. It reformed, the darkness sealing its wounds. They're regenerating. Mia gasped. We can't kill them. The Guardian interrupted. The hunters are not living. They are devourers of energy, parasites of creation. They consume stars, worlds, and light itself. Avery realized the horror of it. The hunters weren't invaders. They were predators of the universe. The first ones had built the Soul Ark to fight them, but the war had ended in tragedy. Humanity had been hidden on Earth to keep their light from being found. But now the secret was broken. They found us again, Avery whispered, and we woke up their greatest fear. The Soul Ark began to move, rising slightly from the moon's surface, revealing engines that glowed like newborn suns. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a living fortress, a city of war built by the ancestors of humankind. Its massive energy wings unfolded, casting bright light across the stars. Earth trembled as gravitational waves rippled outward. It's taking orbit, Mia said in awe. The moon is turning into a starship. The first hunter vessel lunged forward, attacking. Darkness spread like liquid, trying to engulf the moon. But the Soul Ark reacted, its core flaring with light. Initiate solar spear, Avery commanded. The ship obeyed. A blinding beam erupted from its core, slicing through space and striking the attacking hunter. This time, the darkness screamed and shattered into dust. The remaining two hunters changed course, circling the moon cautiously. The Guardian's voice returned. The Ark remembers the war. It has seen the fall of countless worlds. But now it has a living mind again. It remembers why it was built, to protect humanity. For the first time, Avery felt a strange connection through the ship's systems. He could sense its thoughts, memories of the ancient war, of burning stars, of entire civilizations erased by the hunters. He saw flashes of humans who looked different, older, taller, standing beside the Soul Ark as it fought across the galaxy. He realized what the Guardian meant. Humanity wasn't just from Earth. Earth was their refuge. They had once ruled the stars. They called themselves the first humans, Avery murmured, and we are their children. The Guardian's voice softened. Your ancestors fell to save you. Now you must rise for them. The Soul Ark began charging again, gathering more energy than before. The two remaining hunters attacked together, launching massive waves of black energy. The beams hit, shaking the entire moon. Explosions flared across its surface, sending debris into space. Earth's people watched in horror as fragments of lunar rock rained down like meteors. But then, the Soul Ark's core reached full charge. Avery gripped the control console. Fire! The moon glowed brighter than the sun for a moment. The beam that followed wasn't just light. It was pure energy, the weapon of the ancients. It pierced through the darkness and struck both hunters at once. The shock wave shattered the sky. The hunters disintegrated into black mist and vanished into the void. The Soul Ark dimmed, its system stabilizing. The Guardian's voice whispered one final line. The hunters are gone for now, but they always return. This was only the first wave. Avery exhaled shakily. Then we'll be ready. As the moon's glow faded back to silver, the Soul Ark's massive form became still again. Humanity had survived its first cosmic battle. Yet far beyond the stars, something vast stirred in the darkness. The hunters had fallen silent, but their masters had begun to awaken. The world was silent for a long time after the battle. Humanity had watched the impossible, the moon transforming into a weapon and destroying beings of darkness that no one had ever imagined existed. The victory filled people with both hope and fear. Every country across Earth began sending transmissions to NASA, demanding answers. But there was only one man who truly understood what was happening. Dr. Alan Avery sat in command room, staring at the live feed of the moon. The Soul Ark's light had dimmed, but strange patterns were now spreading across its surface, lines of silver energy forming new symbols. "It's changing again," Mia said quietly beside him. "It's repairing itself." Avery nodded, his expression distant. "No, it's preparing." The Guardian said this was only the first wave. He turned toward the screens, showing the destroyed remains of the hunters. Their black dust still floated in orbit, forming a dark ring around Earth, like a warning scar. Every skin showed traces of unknown energy, alive, pulsing faintly, as if waiting. "They're not completely gone," Mia whispered. "Look, the dust, it's moving." Avery zoomed in. She was right. The black particles were slowly gathering, forming thin streams that drifted toward the outer system. "They're calling for something," he muttered, sending a signal. The Guardian's voice suddenly echoed across the room, faint but urgent. "Dr. Avery, the Soul Ark has detected incoming resonance beyond Jupiter. Something large is approaching." A chill ran through the room. "Define large," Avery demanded. "It spans the orbit of a planet," the Guardian replied. "Designation, Harbinger-class entity." Mia covered her mouth. "That's impossible. How can something be that big?" The Guardian's tone darkened. "It is not a ship. It is their mother." Avery felt his stomach twist. "Their mother," he repeated. "You mean it creates them?" "Yes," the Guardian answered. "The Harbinger spawns the hunters. It devours stars and births the dark. It has slept for millennia. Now it comes for the light that defied it." Avery leaned over the console, gripping the edge tightly. "How long until it reaches us?" 6 days, came the calm reply. The words hit like thunder. Humanity had only 6 days to prepare for the arrival of something that could swallow worlds. Earth's leaders immediately activated global emergency protocols. Massive defense satellites were armed and aimed at space. Military shuttles were launched toward the moon to assist the Soul Arkansas. But deep inside, Avery knew it wouldn't be enough. The Soul Ark was their only true defense, and even it had been damaged from the last battle. "How much power do we have left?" he asked. 40%, Mia replied. "Core systems are recharging, but the Ark needs more energy." Avery stared at the map of the solar system, his mind racing. "Then we'll give it more." "How?" she asked. "We can't generate that kind of energy on Earth." Avery's eyes focused on the sun. "Maybe we can borrow it." Hours later, the Soul Ark began to shift once more. Massive panels extended from its sides, forming vast reflective arrays that pointed toward the sun. The moon's glow intensified as it began absorbing solar radiation directly. It was a risky move. The heat and radiation could destabilize the moon's orbit, but it was their only chance. "Solar feed at maximum," Mia reported. "Energy levels rising fast, almost too fast." The Guardian's voice echoed again. "Caution. The Ark systems are ancient. Overload may awaken dormant protocols." Avery frowned. "What kind of protocols?" "Ones even I cannot control," the Guardian said. But there was no time for hesitation. The Harbinger was coming. Outside the moon's orbit, telescopes began to pick up faint lights moving behind Jupiter, massive arcs of black lightning cutting through space. The creature was still far, but its size was beyond comprehension. Its shadow covered entire moons. Its body was a swirling storm of darkness, and from within it, countless eyes began to open, glowing faintly blue. "It's feeding," Mia whispered. "It's feeding on Jupiter's energy." The planet's atmosphere began to tear apart, massive storms collapsing inward as the Harbinger absorbed its life. Humanity watched in horror as one of the solar system's giants began to dim. "We're out of time," Avery said grimly. "Guardian, activate full defense systems." "Confirmed," the AI replied. Across the moon, the Soul Ark came alive once more. Giant towers rose, runes glowed, and the air around the moon vibrated. The Ark extended its energy field across the Earth, forming a faint, shimmering barrier. The Guardian spoke again. "Dr. Avery, the Ark recognizes your signal, but to activate its final system, a direct neural link is required." Avery hesitated. You mean connect to the Ark itself? Yes, the Guardian said. Only a true descendant of the Builders can complete the link. But the process may not be survivable. Mia grabbed his arm. Alan, no. You can't risk your life. We'll find another way. He looked at her, his face calm but determined. If I don't, there won't be a world left to save. He placed his hand on the console. The Guardian's light enveloped him, and his body froze. Streams of data and symbols wrapped around his mind. He could see the Ark's memories again, the war, the destruction, the fall of the ancients. He felt their pain, their desperation, their hope that one day the children would rise again. Welcome, Commander, the Ark's voice said inside his mind. The last war begins. Outside, the Harbinger moved closer, its massive form eclipsing the sun. The Soul Ark rose from the moon's surface, engines igniting like newborn stars. From Earth, people looked up and gasped as the moon seemed to move, slowly, steadily, rising higher into orbit. It's leaving, Mia whispered. It's going to face it. The Soul Ark's light spread across space like wings. The Harbinger roared, a soundless scream that shook the void. Its army of smaller hunters poured from its body, thousands of black shapes rushing toward the moon. Avery's voice came through the comms, steady and strong. This is humanity's light. We won't run this time. The Soul Ark fired the first beam, slicing through the darkness. The second war for the stars had begun. Humanity was no longer watching. They were fighting for their place in the universe. The void of space was alive with chaos. The Soul Ark surged forward, glowing like a silver sun, while thousands of dark hunter creatures swarmed around it. They moved like living shadows, forming spirals and waves of blackness that blotted out the stars. Each time the Soul Ark fired its beam, dozens of them disintegrated, but more kept coming. Inside the command core, Dr. Alan Avery's eyes glowed faintly with blue light. His mind was now one with the Arkansas. He could feel its pulse, its systems, and even the echo of ancient voices whispering in languages lost to time. He no longer needed a console. Every thought he had rippled through the ship itself, targeting protocols online. The Ark's deep mechanical voice spoke in his head. Enemy count, 17,000, closing a high velocity. Avery gritted his teeth. Then let's give them a welcome they'll never forget. The Soul Ark surface began to shift, transforming as new weapon towers rose and circular runes glowed across its body. The ship unleashed a storm of energy. Streams of blue plasma arced out, cutting through the swarms of hunters. Explosions filled the darkness like silent fireworks. Yet for every enemy destroyed, more appeared, crawling out from the Harbinger's massive form. They're endless. Mia's voice called from Earth, her face pale on the comm feed. Alan, there's no way you can hold them all off. He smiled faintly, though his body trembled under the strain of the neural link. We don't need to hold them off. We just need to reach their source. The Harbinger was now visible even without telescopes, a monstrous silhouette devouring light. Its size dwarfed planets, its body a storm of writhing tentacles made of living night. Within it burned a core of blue fire, pulsing like a heart. Avery could feel its gaze even from millions of miles away. It was aware of him. It hated him. The light returns. A deep, guttural voice thundered inside his mind. You carry their scent, the first ones. We erased you. Avery winced, but held firm. You erased their worlds, he said, but not their legacy. We're still here. The Harbinger roared, its soundless scream rippling through space. It unleashed waves of black energy that slammed into the Soul Ark shields. The entire ship shuddered. Shields down to 50%, the Guardian reported. Hull integrity failing on multiple sectors. Avery focused his thoughts, merging deeper with the ship. The pain was sharp, but the connection strengthened. Divert all secondary power to the core, he ordered mentally. Overcharge the solar arrays. The Ark obeyed. Massive solar wings expanded, catching sunlight even as they began to crack under the force. Energy surged through the entire ship. The Ark blazed like a miniature star. For a moment, the darkness retreated. Warning, the Guardian said. System overload imminent. I know, Avery whispered. Just hold a little longer. He fired the solar spear again, this time at full charge. The beam ripped through the swarms and struck the Harbinger's outer shell. The creature screamed, writhing as blue light tore through its black flesh. Chunks of it exploded into space, but instead of dying, the fragments began to grow, forming new hunters instantly. Mia's voice broke through the static. "Alan, it's regenerating. You can't destroy it, it's infinite." Avery closed his eyes, his mind racing through the Ark's memories. He saw flashes of the ancient war, of the first ones facing the same creature long ago. They hadn't destroyed it either, but they had sealed it. "The lock," he whispered. "The lock wasn't just on the moon. It was a weapon designed to trap the Harbinger." He looked toward the glowing core at the center of the creature. That was its heart, and also its weakness. "Guardian," he said, "prepare the entropic core." The AI hesitated. "That system is forbidden. It will destroy both the target and the Arkansas." "I know," he said softly, "but it's the only way." On Earth, Mia realized what he intended. "Alan, no. If you activate that, you'll die with it." His voice came through, calm and steady. "If I don't, none of us live. Tell them humanity was never small." He closed his eyes and let the Ark merge completely with his mind. The ship responded as if it understood his resolve. The energy across its body intensified, shifting from blue to white. "Entropic core charging," the Guardian confirmed. 10% 2030. Outside, the Harbinger gathered its full strength. From its vast body, a tidal wave of black energy erupted, sweeping across space. Stars vanished, light died, and the void itself seemed to bend. But the Soul Ark didn't retreat. It surged forward, cutting through the darkness like a blade of light. 60% 70, the Guardian continued. Avery's heart raced. He could feel the pressure building, the Ark system screaming in pain. But he didn't stop. "Just a little more," he whispered. "For them, for all of us." The Harbinger's massive eye opened, an endless pit of blue fire. Its voice echoed through the void. "You cannot end me, child of dust." Avery stared back, his own eyes glowing like twin stars. "I'm not ending you," he said. "I'm sealing you forever." 100% charge, the Guardian said. "Entropic core ready." Avery raised his hand, and the Ark responded. Fire. A blinding sphere of white energy exploded from the moonship center, expanding rapidly. The wave engulfed everything, the hunters, the Harbinger, even the stars themselves. The sound was silence, the light infinite. Earth's sky turned pure white for a few seconds, and then the light vanished. The Harbinger was gone. The swarms were gone. Only the moon remained, dim and silent. In NASA's control room, everyone stared at the screens. The Soul Ark's signal had disappeared. Mia stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. "Alan," she whispered. Then, a faint voice echoed through the comms. "This is Dr. Alan Avery, mission complete. The lock is restored." Static followed, then silence. The moon returned to its familiar, pale glow. Humanity had survived again, but the man who saved them was now part of a legend, bound forever to the ancient Ark that guarded the stars. And somewhere in the deepest darkness, something stirred again, watching, waiting, for the next light to rise. The Earth was quiet for the first time in months. Humanity had survived the Harbinger, the hunters, and the unimaginable terror that had emerged from beyond the stars. The moon had returned to its familiar silver glow, yet those who had witnessed the battle knew it would never be the same. Dr. Alan Avery's message had gone out before the Soul Ark vanished, but no one knew where he was. The Guardian had claimed he was now merged with the ship, becoming part of its systems, watching over humanity for eternity. In NASA's control room, Mia Torres sat alone, staring at the monitors. The room was eerily silent, the lights dimmed, and the screens showing the moon were still connected to the satellite feeds. The energy traces of the Soul Ark had disappeared, but faint blue patterns lingered beneath the lunar surface. "It's still there," Mia whispered. "The Ark didn't leave. It's just hidden." Across the globe, scientists attempted to understand what had happened. Satellites detected residual energy readings, unlike anything ever recorded. The light patterns beneath the moon's surface suggested that the Ark had returned to stasis, waiting silently. Humanity had survived because of an ancient weapon and a man who was now part of it. Yet fear lingered. Governments tried to suppress the panic, but the event had already changed everything. Space agencies now demanded a full exploration of the moon, but every probe sent in the past had been swallowed or redirected. Nobody knew the limits of the Ark, and Avery's warnings had implied that revealing it too soon could awaken the hunters again. Meanwhile, strange signals began appearing in deep space. Amateur radio operators and observatories around the world captured faint pulses at irregular intervals. When scientists tried to decode them, the patterns resembled no human or known alien communication. Some suggested they were remnants of the Harbinger's presence, fragments of its energy scattered across the solar system. Others whispered darker possibilities, that the hunters were not truly gone, merely dispersed. Mia worked through nights without rest, analyzing the data. The blue traces beneath the moon began to shift slowly, like a tide moving beneath the surface. Then the Guardian's voice returned, not fully, but a faint echo in the satellite feeds. Humanity survived the first wave. The threat is dormant. The Soul Ark stands as the sentinel. Dr. Avery remains within. The lock is secure for now. The words chilled her. For now, she murmured. There's more. The Guardian did not respond again. Instead, the moon itself seemed to hum faintly. Satellites detected micro-vibrations, almost imperceptible, pulsing every 11 minutes, the same timing as the original signal that had awakened the Ark months ago. It was as if the moon itself was alive, breathing slowly, waiting for the next sign. Mia realized that humanity had been given a second chance, but only because the Ark had intervened at the right time. The same technology that had destroyed the Harbinger had been buried beneath the moon for millennia, encoded into Dr. Avery's DNA, and now dormant once more. Across Earth, societies began to rebuild. Space programs accelerated, attempting to understand the technology left behind. Countries launched new telescopes and deep space observation arrays. The mysterious energy readings suggested that the solar system was not safe yet, and somewhere out there, the hunters' remnants might be regrouping. Meanwhile, scientists examining the lunar surface found unusual patterns in the soil, tiny geometric shapes embedded deep below, glowing faintly under special lights. Nobody could explain their origin, but Mia suspected they were connected to the Soul Ark systems. The moon isn't just a rock anymore, she whispered to herself. It's a fortress. Humanity's understanding of the universe had shifted forever. The stars were no longer safe points of light. They were hunting grounds. The ancient war between the First Ones and the Hunters had spanned galaxies, and Earth had only been a hidden sanctuary. If the Ark had not awakened, humanity would have been consumed like countless other civilizations. Across the world, people noticed subtle changes. Animals acted strangely at night. Satellites flickered unpredictably, and compasses sometimes pointed in odd directions. No one could explain it, but it was as if the moon was watching, protecting, waiting. Then, faint signals began to appear in human DNA databases. Strange sequences that did not match normal patterns. Hints of coding that resembled the original transmissions Avery had decoded. Researchers began to theorize that humanity itself carried the seeds of the Ark, the command codes encoded across generations. Those who studied the signals reported visions, strange dreams of flying through stars, of ancient battles, and the moon glowing above planets that no longer existed. Mia documented everything carefully, understanding that these were warnings as well as guides. One night, the satellite feeds picked up a strange anomaly near the edge of the solar system. A flicker of dark energy, barely detectable, moved across the void. Though small, it emitted the same pulse as the hunters had, the same signature that had terrified Avery. "It's not gone," Mia whispered, staring at the readouts. "It's just waiting." She knew humanity had survived only because of Dr. Avery and the Ark, but she also understood that this was not the end. The lock was still in place, the moon still watched, but the cosmos was vast, and the enemies they had faced once could return in even greater numbers. As she looked up at the moon, bright and familiar in the night sky, she felt both awe and fear. The battle for humanity's survival was far from over, and the legacy of the First Ones would guide them, but only if the lessons were remembered. Somewhere beneath the surface, the Soul Ark waited, silent, patient, a sentinel for a humanity that had barely begun to understand its place in the universe. And far beyond the stars, the dark echoes of the hunters stirred once more, hinting that the final reckoning had yet to come. The world had changed, though most people did not fully understand how. The moon hung above Earth as it always had, calm and silver, yet beneath its surface, the Soul Ark slept, a giant sentinel watching over humanity. Dr. Alan Avery had become one with it. His consciousness merged with the ancient ship, guiding its systems and protecting the planet. Across the globe, societies rebuilt and space programs expanded, but the knowledge of the true war above the stars was still limited to a few. People saw only the moon's calm glow, unaware of the silent guardian lying beneath. Yet humanity had not truly escaped danger. Signals of unknown energy, faint but persistent, were detected moving through the outer solar system. Some scientists argued they were remnants of the hunters, fragments of their dark essence scattered across the void. Others suggested they were something older, something waiting for the light to weaken again. Mia Torres continued her work at NASA, monitoring the moon and analyzing the faint pulses that emerged in random intervals. Every signal seemed to hum with a warning, a reminder that the universe was vast and full of predators. "The lock is holding," she whispered to herself one night, staring at the glowing patterns beneath the lunar surface. But for how long? Humanity was beginning to awaken to its own hidden legacy. Genetic studies revealed sequences in human DNA that matched the coding Avery had merged with the Soul Arkansas. It seemed the first ones had encoded a safeguard within their descendants, a living key that could one day awaken the Ark if the universe's threats returned. Some scientists experienced visions during analysis, flashes of stars burning, civilizations falling, and the moon glowing bright above destroyed worlds. These dreams were frightening, yet they carried purpose, guiding those who could understand the first one's intentions. Mia realized that humanity's survival was not just physical but genetic and mental. The Ark had chosen its keepers carefully, and the descendants of the first ones carried a responsibility beyond comprehension. Across the Earth, nations began to prepare in subtle ways. Massive space observation arrays were deployed, secret deep space research stations were built, and emergency defense protocols for outer planets were quietly implemented. Humanity was awakening, but in silence, for fear of panic. The moon itself seemed to pulse faintly every night, a silent reminder that the Soul Ark was alive and vigilant. The Guardian's voice, though distant, occasionally whispered through the old networks. "The lock is secure. The Soul Ark watches. The first one's light endures, but the darkness stirs beyond the veil." Mia had learned to listen carefully. Every whisper contained guidance. The Guardian reminded her that the hunters were patient, immortal in ways humans could not comprehend. They waited in the void, tracking light, seeking the weak. Humanity had been spared once, but the universe was vast, and the Soul Ark's watch could not be infinite. Then, faint anomalies began to appear, objects moving silently beyond Neptune, energy readings too regular to be natural, dark shapes forming against the stars. Humanity had survived the first wave of the hunters, but these new signals suggested the darkness had not been vanquished. It had only been delayed. The moon pulsed once more with faint blue light, and for the first time in centuries, people across the planet felt an inexplicable unease, a shadow in the night sky that could not be explained. Avery's voice echoed faintly in Mia's mind, a remnant of his connection with the Arkansas. "They are patient. Always patient. The first battle is over, but the war never ends." Mia documented everything carefully, understanding that knowledge itself was humanity's new weapon. She shared reports with trusted scientists and leaders, urging preparation without panic. The faint pulses from the moon continued, acting as both shield and warning. Humanity had survived because of courage, knowledge, and the Ark, but the universe demanded vigilance. The stars beyond remained silent, but the silence was uneasy, pregnant with anticipation. Humanity had been hidden once, saved by the ingenuity of ancestors who understood the darkness. Now, their descendants had been awakened to their legacy, carrying within them the key to survival. The moon's glow was steady that night, but the air itself seemed heavier. Satellites detected subtle fluctuations in spacetime, hints that something beyond comprehension was moving, gathering strength. The Guardian's whispers reminded Mia, "The lock endures, but time is finite. The Ark's sentinel remains. Humanity must learn to rise for itself." She looked up at the moon, its familiar face calm, yet concealing power beyond imagining. For the first time, she understood that humanity was no longer merely observers of the cosmos. They were participants, heirs to an ancient war and stewards of a legacy that stretched across stars. Somewhere, deep beyond Pluto, faint shapes shifted in the darkness. The hunters, or what remained of them, were patient. They were waiting for the light to falter again. But humanity had the moon, the Ark, and the bloodline of the first ones. And though the war would one day return, for now, Earth had been given a reprieve. The Soul Ark slept, Dr. Avery watched, and the stars held their breath. The universe was vast, indifferent, and dangerous, but humanity had awakened, ready to face it when the time came. And above all, the moon remained, a silent sentinel, glowing softly in the night sky, a reminder of battles fought, sacrifices made, and the promise that humanity's light would endure.